everyone that's here, Lord Jesus. We pray, Lord Heavenly Father, that you'll continue to give everyone the blessings and the mercies that they need as they finish up this 2022 year, Lord Heavenly Father, so that next year will be an even better and greater year for the Lord Heavenly Father, Jesus. Bless the speakers on this call, Lord Heavenly Father. Use them, allow them to give the information forward that will just be beneficial to everybody here and beyond this call, Lord Heavenly Father, Jesus. We thank you for your blessings and your mercies, Lord. For your name's sake we pray. Amen.
Amen. Sister Charlene, can you go ahead and do?
I'm sorry. What did you say? Forgive me. I'm sorry.
Welcome.
Oh, on behalf of the Scholarship Committee, we welcome you. We welcome all the participants and all the presenters. It is our desire that this workshop will make a difference in the lives of our students and the parents as well. We greet you from Turner Memorial AME Church.
Thank you. All right, so today we have a great wealth of knowledge at hand that will go forth. And again, as Brother Joey said, to hopefully not only advance our young folks in their academics, but also help set them up for the future, help the parents navigate through sending their children to college, because for me as a parent, I know sometimes it's a challenge and it's a struggle, just all of the information that's out there, some things that you might not be aware of that definitely can help you. I actually learned something today in talking to Dr. Conti just in the first 2 minutes of our conversation. And so definitely a lot of great information that will go forth today. So what we will do, we will have each presenter will present. We ask that if our attendees have any questions, if you can post them in the chat. And we will, after they present, we will go ahead and read those questions, and we may, depending on time, we'll also may give you an opportunity to ask questions aloud as well. So I want to thank our attendees. We have Sister Ashley Roberson, who will be our first speaker on speaking on financial aid. Sister Ashley, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
All right. If you can just give a brief introduction of yourself, please, I'd appreciate it. And then the floor is yours. Let me go ahead and make you the host. So if you would like to share slides or what have you, you will have that ability.
Thank you. So good morning, everyone. My name is Ashley Roberson. I am a financial aid advisor at the College of Southern Maryland. I've been working in higher education for about 8 years. And prior to that, I was a high school teacher. So this morning, I'm going to give you sort of some broad information about financial aid. I'll also drop my email in the chat. So if you have any questions later on, feel free to email me about them.
All right, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
All righty, so what do you need to know about financial aid? So before we get started, I want to let you guys know that financial aid is as individual as taxes, right? So what may apply for you may not apply to someone else. All right, let's get started. So this is just an overview of the top topics I'm going to breeze through today, this morning. And so I'll flow through them pretty quickly. So if you have any questions, again, save them to the end. And of course, I'll put my personal email in the chat. So if you have any later on, feel free to reach out. Financial aid consists of funds provided to students and families to help pay for post-secondary educational expenses. What is the cost of attendance? This is a term you'll hear thrown around a lot once you start attending your institution. So your cost of attendance is an estimation of your expected costs. The obvious direct costs, such as tuition and fees, room and board, books and supplies. And then you have your indirect costs, such as transportation and miscellaneous personal expenses. I want to note that your cost of attendance, which is usually a really large number, isn't necessarily what your bill will be. So here's just a breakdown of what the cost of attendance looks like, right? So obviously for a Georgetown, the cost to attend there is pretty expensive. So you see your tuition and fees is $62,052 plus your room and board, equaling a total of $80,876. And of course, that's for Georgetown. What is the expected family contribution? So once you complete your FAFSA, you'll receive something called a student aid report. And on that student aid report, you'll see something called the expected family contribution, or your EFC. So what your EFC is the amount the government, the Department of Ed, believes a family can reasonably be expected to contribute toward your college expenses. Your EFC stays the same no matter which institution you choose to attend. And so when you're reporting that income information that makes up your EFC on the FAFSA, you include the student contribution, which would be any income the student receives, and then of course the parent contribution, which would be the parent income. What is financial need? So of course, when you complete the FAFSA, everything is done with a formula. So to calculate financial need, you would take the cost of attendance, you would subtract the expected family contribution, and that equals your financial need. Here listed are the requirements for financial aid. So for federal aid, you have to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. You have to complete a high school diploma or high school equivalency. You must meet the need eligibility criteria. For state opportunities, you have to be a resident. You generally must attend college in the state, and you must have your FAFSA completed by the March 1 priority awarding deadline to be considered for state awards. And of course, individual colleges and institutions have their own set of criteria. Sources of financial aid. So there's the federal government, right? So the federal government, that includes your Pell Grant, your federal direct loans, PLUS loans, employers. So employers outside of tuition assistance, they also have, a lot of them have programs for families who have students going to college. So it's important to check with your employer to see what programs they have. Private sources, that can include sororities, lodges, churches, state funding, which includes your senatorial and delegate scholarships, your education access grants. The state has a lot of different funding programs. So it's important to, if you get the opportunity, to check out their website to see what you could potentially be eligible for. But keep in mind that for the state of Maryland, the priority awarding deadline date is March 1. So it's important to have your FAFSA submitted by then. And of course, each state has their own set of criteria. And then colleges and universities. So schools, I know now schools have their own individual scholarship databases. So whatever school you're interested in, you should take the time to reach out or take a look at their website to see what opportunities they have available. What types of aid are there? So there's gift aid, scholarships, and grants, which you of course do not have to pay back. And then there's self-help options, what's called self-help options, and that is work study and of course loans. Just gonna breeze through these as I have, explained that already. How much federal aid can you receive? So this is just an example for a first-year dependent student for the current academic year. So the federal Pell Grant, the maximum amount is $6,895. Take note that amount is split between the 2 semesters. And listed below is just a breakdown of the max awards for other opportunities that you could potentially be eligible for. So there's the Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant, your Teach Grant, thumbs down on the loans, but you do what you have to do to get through school. I certainly understand, but take note, there's a lot of funding out there, guys, a lot of funding out there. So loans should absolutely be your last resort. And then lastly, there's the Federal Direct Plus loan, and that's the loan parents take out for the student. And with the Plus loan, you can take out a higher amount of money, but of course, like I said prior, loans should really be your last option. Types of aid for Maryland. So for unique populations, you have your Conroy Award, your Veterans of Afghanistan and Iraq Conflict Awards, tuition waivers. So there are tuition waivers for foster care recipients, waivers for homeless youth, Maryland National Guard, students with disabilities. If a family is exhibiting or experiencing housing instability, there are waivers for that. Your legislative scholarships, which include your delegate and senatorial, and then you have your need-based grants, your guaranteed access grants, education assistance grants, and your part-time grants. I always tell students it's super important. I know I'm kind of talking fast. It's super important to be as honest and transparent as you can with the financial aid office. Although I know that can be hard, but there are just so many programs and processes and systems out there to aid with students looking to pay for school, but you don't know if you're eligible for them if you don't say anything. So here's a breakdown of the Community College Promise Scholarship, or, it's been kind of branded as free college. It's not that, but it is a great opportunity. It's a last dollar need-based scholarship. You must apply for the FAFSA or the MISFA by the March 1 priority awarding deadline. So we all know what the FAFSA is. It's the free application for federal student aid. You can find that at studentaid.gov. But we don't hear much about the MISFA. The MISFA is the state application, and typically students who are undocumented complete the MISFA and can be eligible for state funding. So for the Community College Promise, you have to have an earned cumulative GPA of 2.3 on a 4.0 scale in high school. There are income limits. So for a single parent household, you can't exceed $100,000. For a 2-parent household, you can't exceed $150,000. You must be registered and complete at least 12 credits per semester with a GPA of 2.5 while receiving the award. If you do not complete 12 credits per semester, you will not be eligible for the award any longer. And you must submit any additional documentation that the Maryland Higher Education Commission requests by the designated deadline. So I always tell students, once you complete the FAFSA and once you've completed the FAFSA period, it's important that you do create an MD CAPS account, because once you receive the initial email that you could be eligible for state funding, everything else you'll see through your MD CAPS account, which is something you set up through the Higher Education Commission's website. The free application for federal student aid is a standard form. It collects demographic and financial information about the student and family. It can be filed at any point during the academic year. It's available October 1st, but of course, I always stress the March 1 priority awarding deadline. And you have to complete the application every year. There are multiple ways to complete the FAFSA. You can, of course, complete it on your computer. You can do it by paper, which I don't recommend. I know students who have done it or families that have done it by paper, and I don't know what happens. It never gets to the to the Department of Education. I'm not sure what happens. And then, of course, there's an app. There's an app for everything these days. You can download the Student Aid app and complete the FAFSA on your phone. Here is just a snapshot of what you should see when you go to complete the FAFSA. And of course, the FAFSA is free. It's always free. So FAFSA on the web, it has built-in edits, skip logic. A really cool tool they have now, they've had for a few years now, is the data retrieval tool. So remember back in the day, you have to sit and plug in all those numbers from your tax information. Now you have the option to import directly from the IRS website. It's a more timely submission process. The details, although they're not foolproof, it's sort of simple. And then, of course, once you complete the FAFSA, when you go to complete it the next year, a lot of that information will already be in there. Your FSA ID or the Federal Student Aid ID. So take note, both the parent and the student have to complete an FSA ID, and that is what you use to sign the FAFSA. Okay, those FSA IDs have to be completed with different email addresses. And so that's what you would use to log back into your FAFSA. Once you create your FSA ID, you'll have to use it for other things throughout your college career as it pertains to your aid. Here's just a snapshot of the screen of what it looks like when you go to complete the FSA ID. And of course, you have to have your name, social, date of birth, your email address. Take note, it does make you do one of those two-step verification processes. So the next steps, once FAFSA is processed, of course, you will receive a student aid report. You should receive a student aid report within 24 to 48 hours. You want to review that for accuracy, make sure the numbers look right. You might have to go in and make some corrections, and that's fine. Schools will contact you about the status of your FAFSA between 7 to 10 business days. If you've submitted your FAFSA and it's been a while and you haven't heard anything from the institution, you want to go back onto the FAFSA and make sure you included that school on your FAFSA. You can put up to 10 schools on your FAFSA. Once the school receives your FAFSA, they'll review it and evaluate it and let you know what you're eligible for. So here is something called a special circumstance. I think some schools call it something different, but basically it's what schools use or what the financial aid office will use if there's a change in a student's income. So just because, you started out making one amount, life happens, right? So as I said prior to, it's important to be super transparent because there is something called a special circumstance if income changes in your household. And so you would typically there's a form and you would submit supporting documentation as to whatever is happening in the household, and then the school can recalculate you, and then you could potentially be eligible for more funding. Here is some additional information. So the Federal Student Aid provides information on various financial aid programs. I know typically no one has the habit of just scrolling the Department of Ed's website, but they have really, really, really good programs and a wealth of information there. Same goes for the Higher Education Commission's website. So, like I said earlier, I work at the College of Southern Maryland. However, I am not here to promote any institution, but I will inform you that we do help families complete the FAFSA, even if they're not attending the College of Southern Maryland. We are a community school, and I'm not sure if other community colleges in the area do the same, but if the College of Southern Maryland is a little too far for you guys, because it is in the sticks, contact your local community colleges, and I'm sure they'd be able to help you guys complete the FAFSA or help anyone complete the FAFSA if they need assistance. And here are some search engines. There are a lot of search engines out there. FastWeb, scholarships.com, College Board. Now there's scholarship apps you can download and apply for them that way. So there's a lot of money out there. You just may have to get a little creative in finding it. I had a parent come in. She had 12 checks for her student, and I looked at her sideways because I'm thinking, where did you get these 12 checks? And all she did was go around to local churches, telling them that her daughter's going to college and she needs funding, and asking if they had anything available or any scholarship programs available. And she ended up with 12 checks for her student. This is just a quick overview of some CSM scholarships. I'm sure other community colleges have scholarships that are comparable. The Charles County Scholarship Fund, PG County has a scholarship fund. So whatever county you live in, whatever state you live in, check out to see what funding is available. That is just another scholarship. And so questions will be held at the end, but I also want to let you guys know that I think something I didn't cover was that, back in the day, the big issue was that parents didn't do their taxes in time, or now, with the FAFSA, they use 2 years prior tax information. So keep that in mind. When you go to complete the FAFSA, you don't have to use the current year's taxes. They use 2 years prior tax information. I know that was a lot of information. Like I said, your financial aid is as individual as taxes. And again, I'll drop my personal email in the chat. Thank you again for the opportunity to share.
Thank you, Sister Ashley. Leslie, do we have any questions available in the chat right now?
No, we don't have any questions at this moment from what I see.
All right. Anyone have any questions for Ms. Roberson? Nope. Okay. Well, Sister Ashley, thank you again for presenting and the information that you provided. You hit the nail on the head with the talking about the tax thing. I think a lot of people don't shy away from the FAFSA or think that they can't do it because they might not have filed their current taxes or what have you. And so not realizing that it's 2 years previous. So I think a lot of people don't realize that. And so it is definitely important, because if you don't do it, you have to, like that mom did, search and try to find other ways to get financing for your child. So, that FAFSA piece is very, very important. And it's nothing like not doing it, and then now you're on the hook for that bill, where you could have gotten some kind of assistance, had you had done the FAFSA. So again, thank you for that information. Really appreciate you joining, and great job. Next up, we have Dr. Carmelita Conti. Dr. Conti, can you go ahead and introduce yourself? And the floor is yours. I'm going to give you host rights.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity to meet with you all this morning. My name is Dr. Carmelita Conti, and I am at Bowie State University as the Director of Private Scholarships and Grants. I've been doing that for about almost a year now, but I've been at Bowie State for 4 years. I came to Bowie State after 32 years at Verizon. My last 3 years at Verizon, I spent in the corporate foundation. So I thought it was pretty interesting. I shared this with Ms. Hopkins before. I didn't quite know what God was doing those last 3 years, because I had always worked with customers and clients. And all of a sudden, God was leading me to a job where I thought, I don't know anything about social responsibility and foundations, but he's always setting you up for the future. And
Yeah.
so my setup was those 3 years was to make sure that I was prepared to understand what it felt like to be a donor. And as a donor, I was responsible for millions of dollars to give to different organizations, to give to different groups. And that led me into coming to Bowie State University as the stewardship manager and then director of stewardship and communications for a couple of years, where I dealt intimately with donors. And so I learned not just what makes them tick, but I already knew what made them tick because I knew what made me tick when I was the donor. When someone would come to me, when a university, a school, or organization would come to me and say they wanted funding, what was it that I needed to accomplish on my end in order to make sure my stakeholders and stockholders knew I was spending the millions of dollars I was giving to charities correctly? And so I'm in a unique position now where I work with donors through the Division of Institutional Advancement, but I get to make sure that the funding is actually going to students, Bowie State students, based on the criteria and based on the expectations of the donor. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But as I begin sharing my screen, what I want to start with really is, and just give me 1 second so I can get this started from the beginning. There we go. So I always start with, this is your responsibility. And I'm speaking right now to the students. A lot of times I find that I have helicopter parents, and I'm begging you, if you know somebody who's a helicopter parent, tell them not to be a helicopter parent. It actually doesn't benefit the student, because this slide really is about responsibility and accountability. It is the student's responsibility. This is part of their job. It's managing their future. And so they have to learn. Everything I've highlighted in red starts with the word you, and it's not directed at parents. It is directed at the student. You manage your finances. You have to complete your applications and your essays if they're required. And frankly, as I tell every student that comes into my office, you made time for everything else this semester, or you made time for everything else you wanted to do. You have to make time to do what needs to be done. Because what I know is that the world is great at telling you no. And so is Dr. Conti if you have not finished everything you're supposed to do. And so I encourage students to make sure that they find the time, make the time to do what needs to be done in order to apply for the myriad of external, what we call third party, privately funded donations that come into organizations and the universities. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit more depth, but I just want to recap some of the things that you just heard, because I know that a lot was thrown at you in a few minutes. So I just want to hit a few high points about things that are so critical. So I always do this math game with the students. I always say to them, okay, if we start with the number that your bill has on it, now, what are we deducting from that bill? Well, if you qualify for a Pell Grant based on your FAFSA, you can get somewhere between, it's actually $3,000, as you just heard, almost $7,000 per year. That's based on your estimated family contribution. And then if you're awarded the Pell Grant and that gets you some money, that's not going to get you everything. Depending on your profile, you may get a merit award that can usually be between $2,000 and $5,000 a year. It's based on merit. So it's based on the fact that you have good grades. And so I will stop here and reiterate, the time to get good grades is not in your senior year, because we're looking at cumulative GPA. We're looking at your lifetime. And so if you wait until you're a senior and then you jump on it, it's not going to raise your cumulative GPA high enough. You have to start on this in your freshman year. And so that's the time for students and parents now to start encouraging their students to make sure you're getting the good grades, to make sure that you are doing both school and extracurricular activities, because those merit awards are awarded based on GPA. And in many cases, they're based on what other activities you did outside of that. What they want to see, what we want to see, is that you're a balanced individual, that you're a balanced citizen. That's where we look to actually pour money, because we're looking to put money into those students that are going to walk across the stage 4 years later. That's our focus. Our goal is to bring them in, but our mission is to make sure that they end up walking across that stage with a diploma in their hand. Now, the school may also grant you what's called a need-based scholarship. That could take a little bit more off of your bill, right? And so that's if your FAFSA identified a need, again, depending on your EFC, your estimated family contribution. But under the best scenarios, what I often find is that there is typically, for an HBCU at least, a balance of between $7,500 and $10,000. And that's without using those student loans that the previous speaker told you should be last resort. What I often find is that students and parents think that financial aid is going to cover every single penny. And was never designed to cover everything. It was designed to provide a big bulk of what you may need, but it was never designed to make sure that it fully pays. And I want to stop for a minute. It's not on this spread or on this presentation, but I do want to talk to the fact that CARES, which was the coronavirus response to universities and colleges, provided significant amounts of money. And for many students and for many parents, it was a wonderful windfall, right? Well, that's over. So that money is not coming in. For 2020, all of 2021, we had money, and many other schools did too, where we just had to give it to students. And so it resulted in zero balances. I am encouraging parents and students to understand that is no longer the case. And so it's really important for you to look at what your bill is, understand what financial aid package you're getting, and understand what's left. Student loans, federal loans, should you need to take them, see that graphic? It's debt. It's debt that you take into your life with you. So these student loans are not something that you should just take just because. You should take it if you absolutely need it. But the goal, quite honestly, is to get to a point where you don't need to take out either federal loans or whether you need to take private loans. The goal really is to get you to the point where federal loans are not something you consider. I use myself as an example, and this was many, many years ago. I worked really hard to make sure that I had scholarships and packages that took me through the whole year, all 4 years, up until my very last semester. And then I begrudgingly, for the last semester, took out a loan. And I think it was for a whopping $1,700. That's how much I was short. And I quickly paid that off. You do not want a loan, a federal loan, to keep you from getting a job, getting a federal clearance for federal positions, keep you from buying a house, keep you from being economically stable. So I know you're asking now, well, if you just said that the student financial aid package is only going to cover so much, and you don't want me to take federal loans, then what is it that you want me to take? Well, I'm glad that you asked. This $10,000 balance, and I'm using this as an example, is what is preventing you from moving into your dorm and starting college. Point here, a balance of any amount will stop you from moving in. So I've had students, we saw this in August. We had a student that flew in from Chicago. He was so excited to start school. He didn't start school because he had a balance, and it was a significant balance. He thought financial aid was going to cover it. And at work, though we tried, he also didn't have good GPA. So as a result, we weren't able to give him any money. You want to make sure that you are doing everything so that you have your packages ready, all of your documents together. When you come to school, it's not a question of will you move in, it's a question of when. So how do you make up the difference? Private scholarships. Now, I'm a little judgmental here because I'm the director of private scholarships, but every university, well, let me say this, most universities have some type of endowment or what we call current use scholarships. They're privately funded scholarships. And each of these scholarships, this goes back to my prior life, they are they're dictated by the criteria that a private donor has established. I'm going to use a personal example. I have funded an endowment at Bowie State University in honor of my parents, and I have funded an endowment at my alma mater, University of Maryland Eastern Shore, where I have decided I wanted to have students who could matriculate without having to concern themselves about the money part. But both of these scholarships have very clear criteria. In one, you have to be an education major. You have to be a junior or a senior. You have to have a 3.0 GPA. Every donor determines what their private scholarship criteria is going to be. What that means is there are a plethora of different privately funded external, internal scholarships. Privately funded scholarships through the university are, they're awarded, they're managed through the university. But then there are all manners of private scholarships. The previous speaker spoke to this. She spoke about how you could go out to those different websites. I encourage students to do that, but you do not wait until you need the money to go out to those websites. Every day I receive an email from a student that's saying, I can't register for the spring semester, or I can't graduate in 2 weeks because I have an outstanding balance. Do you have a scholarship I can apply for? Well, that's not the time to ask me about applying for scholarships. In fact, most private donor scholarship applications are open right now for the next academic year. So while we're busy talking about Christmas and maybe the new year, that's the time when you should be sitting down and actually pouring through and applying for these scholarships. At Bowie State University, our private scholarship application opened on December 1st. It's going to close on February 15th, meaning any student that has not applied by February 15th will not be eligible for any private money that we have throughout the entire academic year. Waiting until you need the money is not when you want to do that. Understanding that there are a variety of different requirements means you should look at the requirements for the scholarships. If you meet the requirements, apply. As a person who has to look at those scholarship applications, I'm going to tell you this: if you don't meet the application criteria, don't apply. I have several private donor scholarships, unique ones that are on the website right now. And what I've noticed is that students aren't reading them. And I have 1 or 2 students who have applied for everything out there because somebody told them just apply. That is a bad strategy, because now that student's name is where? Etched in my brain. I know who they are. And every time they apply for something, I'm kind of looking at it saying, do they even have the criteria for it? So what I'm doing is meeting with both of those students next week in order to talk to them about their personal situations and make sure that they understand what they're eligible for. The truth is there's a lot of money out there. And the truth also is that most of that money goes unspent every year because people don't donate. So it's individuals, it's philanthropists, it's organizations, corporations. Let me stop for a minute and loop back to where we started. I said that my last 3 years at Verizon, I worked as I worked in the corporate social responsibility team. My specific responsibility was to make sure that donations went in that capacity to organizations who were dealing with individuals who had met with hurricanes or tornadoes, some type of extravagant weather condition that had caused them to lose much or all of what they had. And so my goal each year was to gear up for those seasons and pass out those millions of dollars to those organizations. I required back from those organizations information about who did they help, what were the demographics of the people that they helped. Because what I did was then shared that with our stakeholders and stockholders, and that allowed us to garner additional funding. Every private donor is donating money for a reason, whether it is a personal reason, In the case of my scholarship here at Bowie State University, I do it because I want the memory of my parents to live on. And so because I want that to happen, the scholarships are designed to ensure that students who are receiving them are going to go on to be elementary education school teachers. That's what my parents were. Everybody has a reason. Identifying those reasons, knowing it, and then determining and making sure your application focuses on those reasons gives you the best opportunity and chance to be able to actually get a scholarship. So for those who are interested, and like the last speaker, I am not advocating one school over the other. I am simply advocating that you apply and apply early. And that is that the scholarship application is now open. We use a general application. And so we ask students to provide all their information. And then we go through those applications and we sort them based on the criteria for each scholarship to identify the person who is going to receive it, or the persons. And as I told, I believe it was Mr. Jameson, when I first got on the call earlier this morning, if you have a student who is at Bowie State University, or you have a student that is thinking about applying to Bowie State, they will need to apply for a private scholarship by February 15th. If they do not, and they choose to apply, say, April or May or June or July, and they're looking for private scholarship dollars, they will not be eligible until the following academic year. That's what I wanted to share today. I am so appreciative of the opportunity. I hope that I've shared something that has allowed you all to understand a bit more about the process, but I'll leave you with saying these words. It is your responsibility. It is your job. It is, as I tell students all the time, it is what is going to set you up for the future. So you can make the determination of how much you want to focus on school, or whether you want to focus on how you're going to get through school. I recommend you focus on school by making sure that you set yourself up before you get there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Conti. Leslie, do we have any questions in the chat?
Yes, we do have one question for you, Dr. Conti, and it's, do you look at the FAFSA when you're going over the private scholarships?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you. I forgot to mention that. So most private scholarships are merit-based. They're not needs-based. A FAFSA is designed to determine a student's financial need based on their family contribution and their situations. We do not actually look at FAFSAs. And what that means is we have students who, for whatever reason, can't complete the FAFSA. They may be international students who are not US citizens and aren't eligible for the federal aid. So we don't look at them, but there's a desire. We tell students, we would desire that you actually complete the FAFSA. You're not required to, but completing it means now you have access to the full package, right? You have the private scholarship funds, you have the federal funds, you have the state funds, and you don't want to deprive yourself of any of them. But if there is a reason why you cannot legitimately complete the FAFSA, then the private scholarships typically are the best route for you and are going to give you the most opportunity.
Wonderful. Thank you for that.
I actually had another question. And so is there a list of the private scholarships that students have the ability to access and see what the requirements are?
I get that question frequently. We have 130 private scholarships. And so we decided to create a generic application so that students are providing the generic information and we are doing the sorting. However, when you go to places like Scholarship America, at scholarship.org.com, I'll look it up while we're on this and I'll paste it into the chat. Those are sources where they've already looked at various scholarships and they will put in the individual requirements. Starting next year, Bowie State will also have a system up and running. We're testing it right now, where you'll be able to see as many available private scholarships external to the university. What I would say is that Google is real. And so, you know, we use it for everything else. You can use it for scholarships as well. And I know that this is a church group, so I'm going to end this by saying this. I believe in it, but I believe in this like we believe in playing the lottery. So you can't win if you don't play. And so I tell students all the time, if you want the scholarship dollars, you have to apply. You must apply. And if you don't apply, you are saying to me that you didn't want a scholarship. And that is what we say to students after the fact.
Hey, Dr. Conti, I have one question for you, and that was good information. So, from your corporate background that you had, would you recommend students going out to some of the big companies, the Verizons, the Googles, just checking out and see what scholarships they have, because they tend to have a bunch of money?
They do. So what they normally do is they have scholarships for their for the children of their employees. Now, I don't remember anymore if Verizon has that,
Okay.
but most of them, most corporations, their social and responsibilities, corporate social responsibility, CSR teams, are giving money to organizations, not to individuals. So it is, I don't want to say it's a total waste of the time, but unless you have a local contact and the local division of that group is doing something. For example, for years at Verizon, the local Washington, D.C. group had money that they used for specifically for scholarships in the DC area. And they did it for a short period of time. But what you really want to do is look for the organizations that are funded by the corporations, because they're giving money to the organizations and they're giving money to universities. Look at BGE, Baltimore Gas and Electric made a decision that they wanted to fund HBCUs. They didn't do that by going out. They don't have the resources, nor do they know the students. Instead, they went to every HBCU in the state of Maryland, all 4 of them, and they poured money into those HBCUs. So what you do is you can look at these corporations and see where they're putting their money, what universities, then go to those universities and find out what is the criteria within those universities for those corporate funded scholarships. That's your best bet, because if you go, if a student, an individual came to me when I was in that position, I would tell them, we're not funding individual people. We fund organizations, but we certainly funded plenty of schools, and most of the time the money went unspent because no one was applying for them.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you very much.
Hello, I have one question. Technically, you're saying that the student just needs to fill out the general application, and then you all will determine which scholarships that they qualify for. So it's not like they have to name which scholarship they are applying for.
Correct. At Bowie State University, yes, that is what we do. We have one general scholarship that they apply for. Now, what's going to happen in the future is we're bringing up this new system. It takes takes years to bring up a new effective system so that we're not doing it wrong. And so in the coming years, the system will be able to list on the screen all of the scholarships. Because what we know, remember what I'll go back to saying, every donor has a reason for why they give. Every donor. And let's be honest, we all want to see our scholarships. If we're putting our good money into it, and if we're putting our heart into it, because every scholarship that is given by an individual donor or groups of donors, there's some heart in it. And so we want to see that information on the screens where we can direct people and say, you can go look for the Leroy E. and Evelyn R. Conti Scholarship. We are pulling those up. We're bringing them up 20 a year because that's the best that we can do with our IT team right now, is to put them up that way. But to your point, while at Bowie State, we ask you to fill out one application. What we don't want students to do is just rely on the Bowie State private scholarships. We had 1,958 applications last year or this year for this academic year, because we just started this department this year. So when we opened it for a month instead of 2.5 months like we're doing this time. And we got almost 2,000 applications. 1,400 students got an email telling them that they did not get a scholarship. That is part of the course. Not every student is supposed to get it. And as a result, where I'm driving to this is you can't just rely on completing your FAFSA and completing the Bowie State application if that's where you attend, or the Georgetown application, or whatever it is. You should be going out there and looking for all those other private scholarships. There are lots of them out there. I went to Wesley Seminary. Look, now I can't remember John Wesley Seminary in DC for 2 years. And I went for free for 2 years because there was a scholarship there, and I poured through their documents. I found a scholarship that no one had applied for 10 years. And the financial aid person thought it was so funny. She said, "You found what no one else has found. You applied for it and get it." I said, "Yes, and I'm not sharing it until I finish." And then the God in me will let me share it with other people because I didn't want to share my money. But the money is there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I was
Derek,
trying to mute myself. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
so you mute.
So with the private scholarships, are there, and I know you said that there are various different criteria, based off of the donor. And so my question is, are there scholarships that's geared just for freshmen, as well as maybe,
Absolutely.
like you said, juniors and sophomores, juniors and seniors and so on? So forth?
Absolutely. It depends on what the donor's heart. And I go back to that. So some are just for freshmen. Some are
Okay.
only for graduate students. Someone may have been it's usually an experience that someone had. So I picked secondary education, and I picked a 3.0 because my father was very insistent on, I remember he said the words 3.0 or don't come home. That was every semester. I didn't know where I was going if I didn't get a 3.0. So I knew I didn't have any place else to go. So I made sure I did that. But it's always based on something. And so there are lots of freshman scholarships. One of the things we're doing though, Mr. Jameson, and changing at Bowie State is, for years, we gave a little bit of money to a lot of students. And that did not accomplish our goal. And our goal of everyone on this call and everybody at Bowie State and most colleges, and all colleges, is to get them across the stage. You cannot get a student across the stage. This is what we learned about freshmen. Mama and daddy and auntie and grandma and godmother, everybody loves a freshman because they just got out of high school. That baby did wonderful things. We're going to give them all kinds of money, make sure that they can get into school. Then they become a sophomore and we act just like they didn't exist anymore. Baby, you on your own now. Well, that's how they end up dropping out in their sophomore and junior year, because they don't have that consistent. So what we're working with students now is to provide what we call renewable scholarships. That means we're awarding less to freshmen, less number of freshman scholarships, I apologize, but we are awarding more to them and making them renewable so that they have a basis to continue to keep moving forward. Because getting them in the door that shouldn't be our goal. I know that's what we want. We get all excited. I want to get excited about walking them through across that stage the second time, not the first time.
That was going to be my next question, was about how scholarships continuing on throughout their
that's what they want
each academic year. And so that is definitely great, because just like you said, it is true that a lot of times we give that that freshman, that high school graduate gets a scholarship, or they get grandma, everybody, auntie, uncle donates money, church donates money, and then after they finish that freshman year, it's call your mom and dad, to help you
and
out.
mom and dad don't have any money.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So we want to set them up for success.
Yeah.
And I know that's what Ms. Hopkins is going to talk about, setting them up for success.
Gotcha. Any other questions for Dr. Conti before we move on to Sister Carla Hopkins? Leslie, anything in the chat?
No, no new questions in the chat, just the comment that that this is a very big issue of scholarship opportunities going unawarded because students simply aren't applying.
Yeah. And just like I said in the beginning, when I was first talking to Dr. Conti, she asked me if my child applied for a private scholarship. And I was like, I don't think so. Because if she did, she didn't say anything. And so we will definitely be on that. Indeed. And you
That's
know,
okay,
of
Mr.
course, it's her
Jameson.
responsibility.
While Ms.
It's
Hopkins is presenting, I'm gonna go look at my system. I'm gonna see
okay.
if she's applied.
No, I can tell you she hasn't. I can already, you don't have to look. I can tell you she hasn't. So yeah, definitely. So thank you again, Dr. Conti, again for the great knowledge and information that you passed on. I know I gained some knowledge that I will be sharing with my child and making sure that she does what she needs to do before this deadline because she is a student at Bowie State University. Go Bulldogs. And so again, thank you very much for that information. And so we will now move on to Carla Henry Hopkins. Sister Hopkins, can you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about your presentation? Thank you.
Okay, well, good morning, everybody. And I want to thank Sister Ashley and Dr. Carmelita for going before me. And thanks to Turner, because this is like my second church home. So thank you for the opportunity to talk about what I know that Sister Ashley and Sister Carmelita, we are higher ed nerds. So we could talk about this stuff all day long. And for the opportunity just to talk about it and to share the information is a blessing. So thank you for that. I wanted to just briefly say, to dovetail on the presentations around finances, is that while C's get degrees, A's will get you paid. So if you need a slogan, that's the slogan. And I say that because not only when we talk about the private scholarships, and this is in my other higher ed life, and we talk about the federal dollars, they also can compromise one's matriculation through college. If your student is not doing well academically, their financial aid is also in question, as well as financial private scholarships, because private scholarships and financial aid are investments. The federal government is investing in a student, private donors are investing, and if they see that a student is below a 2.0 or having some difficulties academically, they don't see that as a great investment, and they would rather switch those dollars to students who are doing well. And so I stress that yes, C's will get you across the stage, but A's will get you paid, and that's what you want. You want to be able to leave college with less debt. So to that end, I am Carla Henry Hopkins. Currently, I am the director for alumni engagement and donor engagement at Bowie State University. I've been in higher ed for 27 years though, and been at Bowie for about almost 4 years next month. Prior to, spent a bulk of my higher ed career at Johns Hopkins University, where I was assistant dean of student. I was the director for multicultural affairs. I was on the student affairs side and the academic side. Prior to that, Loyola College, where I was a judicial officer, and again, assistant director of student life. And so I have worked a gamut across higher ed, now finding myself supporting the university through the philanthropic development of their alumni base. And so you've heard from Ashley and you've heard from Carmelita. Now we've gotten our students monetized and in school. They are here, they are on campus, or they are commuting from home. Now what happens next? And that's what I wanted to talk to you all about a little bit. I like to be a little bit more participatory, and Brother Derek, I know you got, I'm not trying to go against the grain of what you have outlined for us to do, but I'm interested in knowing how many parents by virtual hands that I have on the line. I see the students, but how many parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, people supporting students in higher ed right now on the line? Can I see who they are? Virtual hands up, nobody? I know Brother Derek is a parent. Any other parents? Any other grandparents? Aunts, uncles?
Uncle right here.
Thank you. Appreciate. Yes, we like the aunts and uncles. Um, and I say that because if you are not, but you do know of parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, people supporting first-year students, I want to speak to you first when we talk about this student life and college life experience. What I didn't say in my introduction, which is probably more important than my 27 years in higher ed, it is more important than the 5 schools that I have had a privilege of serving and working at. It is more important than my own education and matriculating through school. And I'm working yet on another degree at another school, even currently. What is most important about this conversation that I'm getting ready to have with you is that I've been both a student and a parent of students, sending 5 of my children through college, a couple of them through graduate school, technical schools, and now they are fully adult and working and taking care of themselves, but it didn't come without some bumps in the road, and it didn't come without some education. Even though I was a higher ed professional, it is very different when you are on the parent side and when you are on the supporting side. And so for our guardians, for our parents, share this information. We need to begin to start helping our young people be college students way before they get to college. I currently sit on 3 K through 12 school boards in Baltimore City. They are college preparatory. One is a 6 through 12 and the other is high school. And what I have said to my 6 through 12 professionals, we start at 6th grade. What I said to my high school professionals, we start at 9th grade. And what does that mean? We help our young people to be independent thinkers, critical thinkers. We help them to problem solve. We help them to be able to ask for help and to advocate for themselves. And that cannot start when we move them into the dormitory residence hall in their college experience. And so for parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles, we have to, Dr. Conti mentioned it, we have to kind of pull back the reins of our management and our helicoptering. And we have to know that whatever we have deposited in our young people and whatever God has allowed us to deposit in them over the 18, 17 years that they have had, that it is indeed enough for them to continue to prune and to polish as they go on their college experience. What does that mean? It means establishing a time for your student that they will check in with their family. The family is the most important, most important. The research shows that the family or the support system, church communities, aunts and uncles, mentors are the biggest support in terms of helping, of assisting young people to complete college. They cannot make it without that. But with that comes some shift and some change of how we do things. And so establish a time and a day to check in with your student. That may be hard for some of us. It was hard for me when I first went off to college. I was used to seeing them every day, checking in on them every day, watching them every day. But when I sent her to Clark Atlanta, my oldest daughter, some years ago, I had to learn that she was busy, that she too was trying to navigate her college experience. She was trying to create relationships with professors and other mentors. She was trying to find herself a church home, praise God, because that was questionable. She was trying to make friends, right? And so I felt some type of way when I wasn't getting a daily call, when I wasn't getting a return call. I was really feeling, and her father was feeling some type of way. And it took people who had been there down the road to be able to say to us, you know, they are now at a place where they are navigating life, and everything that you have taught them, it is there, but you have to free the reins. And so we decided Sunday after church at 4 o'clock was our time to talk. And that is what we stuck to. And I prayed this other 6 days that everything was okay. But it allowed me to grow up as a parent of a college student and to mature. And it also allowed her to know that she could take care of herself for 6 days, that she could make decisions about herself for 6 days without the constant narrative of her mother. It wasn't my husband, it was her who, it was me who was wanting her to call every day. So that is for the parents and the grandparents and all of that, aunts and uncles. Just hold tight. They're going to be home for breaks. Check in with them. You know, I didn't have technology when I went to school, like many on this line who are older, and our parents. I had the dorm phone at Wilberforce University in the middle of the hall that everybody was fighting over, and we made it. And so our young people will make it. They've got technology. They can FaceTime. They can send a text, but we need to give them the reins to be independent. That would be that. So now to students. I just want to mention a few things that I think would be helpful to the students on this line and to share with students about how to make their time on campus successful. There's two sides to campus life. There's an academic side and there's a student life side. The academic side is what they're doing to gain the skills and the knowledge and the expertise of that which they have said that they are interested in. It is the time that they spend with their professors. It is the time that they spend in honor organizations and societies. It is the time that they spend in internships that are related to their majors. It is that whole time in terms of making sure that they have the skill set and that they have all of the artillery that they will need when they walk across that stage to be to be employable, and to go to graduate school. That is the academic side of campus. But a lot of the learning, and again, I'm a nerd, so I'm into the research. Over 64% of the learning happens outside of the classroom. There is no longer a school day that goes from 8 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you have 7 periods. It is not that. You may have a class one day a week on a Tuesday. You may have 5 classes stacked up on a Thursday. And so that is a big paradigm change and shift for young people who for 12 years have been going to school from 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock or 8:30 to 3 o'clock. And now they are maybe 1 or 2 classes on a day and maybe 6 classes on one day. And how do they manage that? And so time management is the biggest culprit of student success. We have to teach our young people in high school and middle school, even as babies, how to have time management and putting structure around and putting discipline around your time. And so that is the academic side, making sure your assignments are done, making sure that you're checking in with your professors. But the student life side is where a lot of the learning is happening, because you are doing more of your work outside of the classroom and group projects and independent study, writing papers, pruning up your writing skills and all of those communication skills that are necessary for the success in the classroom. Most of that is happening outside of the classroom in small groups with your friends, with other classmates, and with your professors and mentors. On the student life side, you are also trying to develop your leadership ability. We want our young people to be multifaceted and multidimensional. So not only being great students in the classroom, but also finding out what they're passionate about, what their niche is, and being able to identify it. There are over 3,000 colleges and universities in the United States. There are over 142 HBCUs in the United States. And all of those schools have organizations and clubs and sports and all of the things that help to round out young people as they are matriculating in school. The old adage, all work and no play makes Jill and Jack a dull person. That is true. And organizations, work-life organizations, graduate schools, if they have any goals in going further, they want to see, as Dr. Conti said, that a student, that a young person is a well-rounded person. Yes, we know that you got a 4.0, but you didn't do anything but study. Are there any other things that you're passionate about? Are there any other things that you can give your talent and your capacity to? And that is the student life side. And so I just, before we get to the students, want to share what I believe are some things that students and parents, grandparents, supporters of young people need to be aware of. that students, when they go off to school, particularly as first year traditional students, I say traditional meaning coming straight out of high school, being 17, 18 years old, going to college for the first time, whether they are commuter students or whether they are on campus students, it is a big shift of how they have seen their education and what they have known as far as being normative. And so our job as the supporters in the community is to help them make those switches and shifts and to encourage them to consider a new normal. So, you know, everything you knew about how you did life prior to going to college, that's what you thought was universal. But we should encourage them that there's a different way of thinking about being independent, being on a campus, and making your own life choices. What do students have to do? They have to be assertive. They have to be advocates. There is no mom and dad, grandparent, aunt and uncle, if you're over 18 years old on a college campus, that is going to talk to any guardian directly unless a student has put in their official file with the university that we can exchange information with that person. Though that was a hard pill for me to swallow when I first sent that first child to college, because I'm saying to myself, I'm paying. We paying. You mean you can't talk to me? No, they cannot talk to you. And so it is essential. And that's a federal law. It's a privacy law. And so it's not about a school to school. It is a federal law that our country sees 18 emancipated people as adult people, being able to make their own decision, being able to speak for themselves. And so as a result, even though parents and grandparents, aunts, uncles may be paying for the education, they do not exchange information unless explicitly in writing it has been given to the school. This is my personal tip to that. Have conversations with your young people before they go off to school. Develop and cultivate good relationships with your children, grandchildren, your nieces and your nephews, so they feel they want to tell you things. And so one of the things that I said to parents as an assistant dean is I said, if you have a great relationship with your child, when they go off to college, you don't even have to worry about knowing the information, because they are going to share, I'm not doing so well in my classes. I'm struggling here, I'm doing this. So let's cultivate transparency before they get to a place where they don't have to give it to us. That was a big switch. That also means they have to be assertive. They have to be super advocates for themselves. They have to speak up for themselves in the classroom. They have to speak up for themselves in the residence halls if they're having issues with roommates or other people. There's a process for that. The Dean of Students Office is the first stop. They have to be advocates. They have to be able to stand up for themselves. So assertiveness is essential. Responsibility and self-management is a big one. It is waking up on time. It is going to class. It is turning the assignment in on the day that it was due. And if something should happen where you can't turn in the assignment, calling or emailing or stopping past the professor's office and saying, Dr. So-and-so, I wasn't feeling well. Can I get an extension? What is it that I can do to be successful? Professors have and I just want to make sure that everyone understands, for the most part, across the nation, you know, sometimes students complain the professor has it against me, the professor doesn't like me, and sometimes that could be true. But what I told my children is that I don't care if the professor doesn't care for you as a person. I care if the professor is teaching you equitably and that you are doing what you are supposed to do in that classroom. And so professors are dedicated to getting young people across the stage by large and far. And so if students have issues, they want them to come to them. They want them to say, you know, I'm having an issue. How can we work this out? But if you wait until midterms or finals, and all semester you have been struggling, it is hard for professors to help you. So you got to take your responsibility and your self-management very seriously. What does self-management mean for students? It means that they are now in charge of things like taking care of themselves, making sure they go to the health center if they don't feel well, making sure that they lock their doors and that they don't leave their doors open so that people, you know, you leave open for theft, making sure they make their doctor's appointments, making sure that they eat 2-3 meals a day, and that they are, because there's no longer someone at home to make sure those things are happening. And so responsibility and self-management are important. The communication skills and the independent work skills go hand in hand. Students have to learn how to communicate with a lot of different people in the college environment in a lot of different ways. They communicate with their professors one way, with their advisors another way, with their friends another way, with their family. So they have to develop diversified communication skills and communication skills that are appropriate for the occasion. If you're going to see a professor about an issue, you want to show up like you're about some business, not in your pajamas and your socks. You want to go to the professor's office, and you don't necessarily have to have a three-piece suit on and a dress and pearls, but you have to look like you're serious about having a conversation about your future. If you're hanging with your friends and it's informal, and then you want to be a part of that team concept, then you want to communicate in ways that say, I want to be involved, I want to be a part. I see us as like valued. And so communication is key, and the technical skills that keep us and that keep students current with what's going on, the platforms, checking email is a big problem on a college campus. Most students will not check their college email. And that is the only way that the university is going to formally communicate with you. And so if your email address prior to coming to college was sassyfrassy123@gmail.com, Sassy Frassy is going to turn into your first initial, your last name, at whatever the name of your school is, .edu. And that is the email that you need to be checking often, because that is where you're going to get the information about what is happening on campus, if campus is closed, if class is canceled, when the private scholarship application is due that Dr. Conti just talked about, when FAFSA deadlines are due, which is what Ms. Robertson talked about. You're going to get it to that email. Sassy Frassy won't get that email, and you will miss many of the things that you need to be successful. So please check the email. And then I'm going to end with these two things: the critical thinking skills, which are also your problem solving skills. We want to encourage our young people to have critical thinking skills. What does that mean? In a layman's term, let's not figure it out for them. We have a tendency as people who love our young people, who love our children, they say, this is the problem, this is it. And we say, well, what you need to do is X, Y, Z. Or when I was in school, I did it this way. What we need to do is gently guide them into the critical thinking skills of identifying their problems and then being able to figure those out themselves with a little guidance. We don't want to dictate nor micromanage the growth and the maturation of our young people. And college is the place where you do fail sometimes. Sometimes you make not the best decision, but in that, as all of us, we're in a church environment, we recognize that those opportunities for failure are also opportunities for testimony and for growth, when we are able to figure our way out of an issue and to trust that we have learned from that issue. And so we don't want to deny our young people their own personal testimonies of being able to identify issues and problems, to be able to engage other people and helping them to solve the problem, and then to encourage them to talk about how they overcame those challenges with other people, because that is also development. And it's really essential for young people to have that own personal experience with their own challenges. And quite frankly, in the higher ed environment, as administrators, professors, and mentors, we are looking for them to be their problem solvers. When students come to my door during the week, which is not as frequently in this role, but often, and they're saying, this is my issue, I restate the issue to them. I say, okay, so what I hear you saying is X, Y, Z. And they say, yes. Some of them come crying, some of them come disheveled. And what I say is, I start here. It's all going to work out, because wisdom tells me that no matter what it looks like now, it's going to work out. That's the only reassurance they need. I need parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles on this call to hear me, that there are professionals on campus that care about your people. They care about your children. And although you are not there to say it's going to be okay, I can tell you after 27 years working with some of the greatest professionals in higher ed, that there are many colleagues who are telling young people, it's going to be okay, and helping them figure out how to problem solve their life issues, their academic issues, their issues with friends in the residence halls. You don't have to worry about that. That people on campus are committed and dedicated and in their roles, their formal roles and informal roles, for helping young people be successful outside the classroom. And so we want to make sure that they're using those critical thinking skills, which is so essential for the rest of their life. And then they need to be comfortable with diversity. And what do I mean by that? When they go to college, they're going to engage a lot of folk that are different than them. And when I speak about that, I speak out of my lens as a former director of diversity, equity, inclusion, and social justice, not just in terms of culture, not just Black people, white people. That's very linear. But, you know, all Black people, we're not the same. We don't come from the same experiences. We didn't have the same upbringing. Some of us profess, well, I'm going to assume, I'll make an assumption that many of us on this call are assuming a Christ-led life and assuming that, but there are folk who look like us who don't. There are folk who look like us, even on the HBCU campus, who have different persuasions with regard to their political views, to their sexual orientation, to their lifestyle views, to their value sets. And that is an opportunity for us to see ourselves in a multiplex and multidimensional world. Where do we fit in that? So we want our young people not necessarily to co-sign on everything that they see, because they too need to be able to stand firm on what they value, whatever that value is. But we want to encourage them to be open to the diversity of how people talk, how people engage socially, how people teach. One professor will not be the same as another professor. I guarantee you, you will be like, I thought I had this over here. Now I have a professor who doesn't even, they don't even care about the syllabus over here. So you have to be able to guide our young people in a way that allows them to know that diversity is a good thing. And that when they go out into the world, they're going to encounter people with all kinds of different aspects of how they look at life. And always, all of us on this line, we are daily calibrating who we are based on the environments that we're in. We are daily going into workplaces, church places, sororities or fraternities. We are going into our civic organizations, and we're calibrating who we are in that space based on what we value, based on who we are. We want our young people to have that same that's the same ability and the same boldness, which is behind me. Ashley and Dr. Carmelita said they are not espousing a particular school. This is what I'm going to say. I'm saying all of this information for any of the over 3,000 colleges and universities that any of our young people want to attend. But I am repping the place that I get paid, Bowie State University, the oldest HBCU in the state of Maryland. And I'm also repping Wilberforce University, my undergraduate institution. Even though I don't have the colors on, I'm representing Morgan, where I got my education, Morgan State, and I'm representing Johns Hopkins University as well, because I believe that wherever it is that fed us, that we should always promote and feed it. And we want our young people to have the boldness to pursue their goals. My little mantra is be bold with your goal. So if there are students on this line, I'm saying be bold with your goal. Have a goal in your freshman year, your sophomore year, your junior year, your senior year. Be bold with it, not letting anything interfere with it. Seeking help, opening your mouth and asking for help. There is nothing wrong with saying, I don't know, because everyone on this line didn't know before we knew. We didn't even know that we didn't know until someone helped us. And so the mark of a successful person, not just a student, is being able to identify your goal, to be able to identify any challenges within that, and then being able to ask for the help and assistance that you need to achieve it. And for the students that are on this line, know that my personal advice would be whatever campuses you are on, and this is what I told my children. And to this day, I have, I'm extremely proud of the fact that, the advice that Ashley and Carmelita gave around financial aid, we tried to follow, because they're not in debt. and they've been able to move on to their life without having the ceiling of debt over them. But what I said to them is identify, this is my advice, identify someone on that campus. There is someone on your campus that is looking for you. There is someone on your campus that wants to mentor you. There is someone on your campus that wants to help you to navigate the college life that you are now in. However scary, however anxious that some of that navigation may be, there's an administrator, there is a professor. It might be the cleaning lady in your residence hall. It could be the person, the groundskeeper who is mowing the lawn, but there is someone who is dedicated and committed to being able to be your support on that campus. And I ask that you seek it out through your clubs, your organizations. A student who is involved is more likely to graduate in 4 to 5 years with a degree than a student who is not involved outside of the classroom. Encourage your students to be involved, encourage them to be vocal, and do not micromanage this part of their life. Know that the God who made all of us is the God who is still watching them, and that wherever they are, they will be secure and supported. And so with that, I'm going to stop the formal part of my presentation. And Brother Derek, let me know what I need to be doing next. I have the students who are here, and just let me know how you want me to move forward. Thank you all for your time. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Sister Carla. Really appreciate that. So yes, we do have our 4 panelists on. I'm just going to put this out there. One of them, Dayana, is currently at work. So she said that she might not be available to speak. And then again, she might. What I would ask is that each of our panelists introduce themselves just by saying, their name, where they attend, and what their major is. But before we do that, if my pastor, Reverend Dr. D.K. Kearney, can say a few quick words. Pastor?
Hey, Brother Jameson, thank you so much. I am definitely appreciative of this opportunity to share in this virtual space. Kudos and hats off to you and the entire scholarship team at Turner for once again bringing to our attention the importance of higher education and making sure that not only the students at Turner, but also those within our family, within our community, receive this vital information. The scholarship ministry has done an excellent job over the several decades of making sure that our students that we send to schools of higher education have a little seed of love and able to help with their college career. I'm quite familiar with a lot of some of the faces that are presenting. They are no stranger to us at Turner, and so to our panelists, to our guest speakers. Let me express appreciation to you, Sister Carla Henry Hopkins. We claim her as one of our affiliate members. So, Brother Jameson, you and team, you did not go wrong in that, and she is definitely a champion for HBCUs and just higher education. She does an excellent job for that. And also my former member from Campbell, AME Church in Washington, D.C., Sister Ashley, thank you so much. She's done a lot in helping our students with financial aid. As you know, her and her sister kind of worked together several months ago and did an outstanding job in dealing with this current status that we're in, and praying that God will be a judge, a lawyer, and come first of the year, we will have good news as it relates to the student loans and stuff of that nature. So let me express appreciation to all of you and to the students who are here. Thank you so very much. I am very happy, honored, and proud to either be your pastor or your daddy, whichever case it may be. And I won't put the spotlight on no one else because she's a bright star in my life and doing an excellent job, and quite proud of her. So just wanted to come on, say that quick word to each and every one of you. I appreciate you, Brother Jameson, and the entire scholarship team, and encourage you to keep up the good work. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you, Pastor, and thank you for giving us this opportunity to be able to put this event on each year, as we've done over the past, what is this, 4 years now? I think 4 years. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah.
And so
I'm sorry, Brother Jameson, you sent me the names. Do you want me to introduce the students?
Yeah, if you could just call their name and they could just introduce themselves as who
Okay.
they are, just say a brief word, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, so this is the fun part. I'm student centered, and so I like talking to students. I mean, adults are okay, but I love students. And so it's my pleasure to introduce the students that are going to be talking with us this afternoon. We have Miss Viandra Kearney, who is a freshman at Wake Technical Community College. We have Diana Jameson, who is a sophomore at the Bowie State University, and Ryan Reynolds, who is a sophomore at Towson State University, as well as DeAnthony Jameson, who is a junior at the Florida A&M University. And so won't we welcome our young people, our college scholars extraordinaire to the virtual panel. So can we just start with each student just talking a little bit? Let's start here about, you know, we said what your year was, and I think I want to start with Viandra because you are a first year student. And so let's start with this question for everyone. Tell us what your college experience is like right now. How are you finding your college university experience at this point?
Well, hi everybody. Thank you for inviting me to speak. First, my college experience so far, it's a little, I don't want to say complicated, but it's definitely different because I went to an early college high school. So I actually started my college credits my junior year in high school. And so a lot of times people ask me like, oh, what year are you? And I'm just like, well, you know. And so I just kind of explained to them how many credits I have. And so I am a biopharmaceutical technology major. I started my junior year in high school. So it's a 67 credit course. And I so far have 39. And that's, of course, because I started in high school. And so because of that, the fact that I did not have a traditional high school experience, I decided that if I was not going to have a traditional college experience, that would be okay. And so right now, I'm actually doing all of my college classes online because I am working a full-time job at Mallinckrodt Pharmaceuticals, which is a biopharm company. I am a quality control analyst there. And so it's very exciting, kind of a lot, but I am definitely getting used to it. And like you had mentioned earlier, time management, very important.
Yes, and first of all, congratulations of balancing all of that. Because when we talk about, you know, work-life balance and school-life balance, one of the things I failed to mention, Andrea, and you brought it up, is that working a job and going to school, that's a big deal. And, you know, we're in a virtual environment, but because I'm a nerd, I'm gonna share this with you. Most of students who work a job of some sort, whether it be full-time or part-time, in their college career while taking courses are more likely to graduate on time and more likely to be most hireable because they have had that experience. So you are right. You are right in the place where you need to be. You're going to be finishing on time. You're going to be employable, which will make your parents happy. And thank you for sharing that, because not every student is a traditional student, and you came into college with college credits, which was also advantageous for you, but it is creating a different experience for you. So thank you so much for sharing. Make sure I'm pronouncing this right. Is it Diana or Diana? Diana, are you able
It's
to?
Diana. Just give me 1 second. I'm sorry.
Okay, but if you at work, I think your dad said you at work, so we're gonna make sure that you stay employable. So you just pop in when you can and give us your feedback. And because that's important, that's very important. And so let us go over to Ryan. Ryan, let us know how your college experience has been so far. You are now a sophomore, and what we know is the sophomore year can be very challenging. And so tell us what's going on over at Towson State.
Hello, my name is Ryan. Disregard me, I just woke up. But being a sophomore at Towson University, it actually was pretty easier than my freshman year in my eyes. Like I feel as though since like it's not my first year, it's like I'm comfortable and like we have resources now where so before you pick your classes, you could pick like what professor, like how they're good. Like, you know, you could look up their ratings and stuff. So I feel as though once I got like the knowledge of doing that, everything became like a sweet breeze. Since I go to PWI, it's like a real diverse school. So I had some professors who are Black. I had some professors who are Chinese, white. So I love the diversity in my school, and I feel as though it's really a breeze. Sophomore year, I didn't have no troubles at all. I mean, it is finals week right now, but I'm doing a good job.
Okay, well, congratulations. What are you majoring in?
I'm a double major actually. I'm a major in healthcare management and business and finance.
Wonderful. Those are big things. And so you are finding a more traditional experience. Are you living on campus? Are you commuting?
No, I live on campus.
Okay. And so the thing that I want to stress, you know, and I know we all know it on here, but we got to share this information with other people, is that no two college experiences are alike, and there is no right way to pursue college. We pursue college through our individual goals and our objectives, the way that we would like to create our success patterns. And so you are living a more traditional college experience on campus. You are at a PWI, which, you know, I'm sure, you know, throughout the course of your day, engaging with so many various people from various backgrounds, whereas the Viandra is mostly online student and working full-time in a field that she is preparing for. And so, you know, I want to emphasize that even though they have two various experiences, everything I said about the support that they need from their community is absolutely the same. They may be pursuing education in a different lens, but what we do is the same thing for each of them, which is to make sure that we're encouraging them in that independent role of their education. And so, DeAnthony, tell us what's happening in Florida. Tell us what is going on with that experience. I know a lot about A&M, but I'm going to keep it to myself because I know you're studying. But as a junior, tell us a little bit about what's going on with you and how you have found your college experience so far.
Good morning, everybody. I hope all is well. So in previous years, my freshman and sophomore year, I felt that it was a lot easier because I was strictly focused on academics. But going into my junior year, I've begun to get a little bit more active in clubs and organizations, as well as becoming a student leader here on campus. So that has taken a toll on like my time management and being able to, you know, put everything in perspective on what I should do. Also being a business owner, that starting this semester was something that has like been something to balance. But overall, I wouldn't change it for anything. I've had a great junior year so far. I met a lot of people, got to engage with a lot of people. I was way more social than I was when I first got here. So that's something I really was longing for and wanted since my freshman year. So I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's just I would say just a learning experience on just how to keep that balance and how to properly time manage.
Thank you for sharing that. What's your major?
My major is broadcast journalism.
Wonderful.
And Sister Hopkins, he is also a future member of one of the greatest fraternities ever. So let me just go ahead and say that right quick.
Okay. Well, okay. Wonderful. What I'm going to say, DeAnthony, thank you for sharing and your transparency, because I don't believe in what people are terming work-life balance. It's called, for me, it's called life balance, because you can't segment one part of your life from another. It's all the same life. It's all your life. And so basically, you know, as we gather more competency, as our gifts make more room for us, I'll put a spiritual colloquialism in it. Sometimes our time gets smaller because our gifts have gotten bigger, and we are, you know, professionalizing and polishing our intellect and our scholarship. And so thank you for sharing that. Even though you are more active and you're in student leadership, student government, and all of those things, and you're having a great experience, it has taken you to realize that you got to do another calibration on your time. And so here again, for everyone on the line, we have yet another student who's a little bit further in their college matriculation as a junior, adding more things in terms of rounding out his resume and profile when he gets ready to leave with clubs and organizations, and recognizing that that's challenging. And I, again, you know, want to reiterate to students that you will have to recalibrate every time something changes in your college life. Every time you add an organization, every time you add another class, if you pick up another major, you're going to have to do that recalibration on your time. Deanna, are you able to join us and talk to us about your institution right now? Okay, we'll let her jump in when she can. Certainly, we understand her working. So this is for any one of our panel, our student panelists. Talk to me a little bit about how you are adjusting in terms of your independence and individuality as a college student. What have you found to be challenging about you know, basically now being an adult and kind of crafting your own way? And what have you found that you have had maybe difficulty asking others to support you in? Or maybe you haven't, maybe you have felt very supported in the things that are going on with you. Can any one of you all talk about that?
I can start. So my challenges with becoming more independent, I guess, would really start with, because I got my job before I actually graduated high school. So I still was kind of in the high school mentality of, oh my gosh, I got a new job. I'm going to meet new people. I'm going to make friends. And then I get there, and everybody who works there, I'm the youngest of the entire like organization. And so everybody there is at least 10 years older than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so being there and being at a different like path than all of my coworkers or my colleagues, I found was really challenging for me. And I guess like understanding where I fit in the company, because I am still like in school and I am still a teenager compared to everyone else. And so, and like with my parents, because they understand like, okay, like you're growing up, you have to learn things for yourself. It's really been me trying to figure out who I am as like an individual person, and not like, well, mom, they said this to me at work, and dad, I need you to come and beat these people up. No, just kidding. So like that's been hard, because I know in the past I was very reliable on my parents to kind of speak for me and stand up for me in certain situations. So now it's really about me and just standing up for myself in school and at work.
Yes, and that goes back to what I was saying earlier. You got to advocate for yourself and be assertive, because you don't necessarily then have mom and dad to do that for you. And so I'm glad that you're practicing that. What about you, Ryan? What's happening with that? How have you found the transition into independence as a college student? And have you had any challenges in terms of, you know, operating as an independent a student? And, you know, where do you feel challenged in asking for assistance or support, or maybe you don't? Can you share that with us?
Yeah, so like I don't really have challenges in my opinion. I just think mostly it's just like it just hit me like, okay, I'm really like an adult now. So I live in an apartment actually on campus, and things to like groceries and like toiletries. Like, I was used to when I was living with my mom back at home, all that stuff was provided to me. Like now I gotta go out and do my own grocery shopping, make my own meals and, make sure I'm good with stocks and everything and all of that. So I feel so with me, that was kind of like, oh wow, just really hit adulthood, like like it just overcome me. But it feels though like I kind of got used to it quickly because it's just like I've always been independent since I'm the only child. So it's just like I was kind of used to it, but that was like only little thingy I had. And plus, I have my own car. So it's like I had to keep up with that, make sure everything's running good. Like, do I have gas to work? I also work while I'm at school too. So it's just like just little stuff like that that also helped me, like, becoming more of an adult. But I feel as though it's not really challenging. I just feel as though it's all maintained. I could balance it all, like you said, like, work life and your personal life is all coming together. Like,
Yes, and it goes back to thank you about for sharing that because that responsibility and self-management of getting your groceries and making sure you're eating and washing your own clothes and all of those things
right.
that someone else took care for you, right? It's transitioning to that. What about you, DeAnthony? What's happening? How did you find yourself? You're a junior now, so you're on the back end. You're getting ready to be on your way out. But how did you find initially that transition in terms of being independent? And you are a little further from home. And so how did you find yourself in terms of that? And were you challenged by either seeking support or looking for support or identifying support? Talk to us a little bit about that.
I would say that the bulk of my challenges probably came from this year. This is actually my first year moving off campus, so I'm living in an apartment right now. So I would say really it would just be the added responsibilities, like having to pay rent and kind of what Ryan was saying, like having to provide my own groceries and things like that. That's something that I wasn't used to doing while being in the house with my parents. So just that has been the bulk of it. I feel like I've had a good support system. I feel like I'll be able to go to my parents, let them know what's going on. Oftentimes get advice from them because yeah, they definitely do help me with advice. There'll be times where like I might not be taking the best care of myself, not getting enough sleep and things like that. And they'll oftentimes tell me to prioritize myself. So they definitely are a great support system. So yeah.
Thank you. Deanna, I don't want to leave you out. I want to keep checking in on
Yes, keep giving me like 2 minutes and I'll answer this question right quick.
Okay.
Thank
you. Okay, you're welcome. So let me ask all of you, why did you choose the institution that you went to? Why did you choose the college or university that you went to? And with that, I'm gonna put two questions together. Not only why did you choose, what were the factors of why you chose that, but also why did you choose your major? What was that process of choosing your major and choosing the university or college that you attend? And I'll start with Leandra. You talked a little bit about that, but I want you to go a little bit into more detail about your passion around what you're majoring in.
I think when I moved to North Carolina, that's probably when it all started, because when I moved to North Carolina when I was in the 8th grade, I decided like I'm going to go to an early college and I'm going to either use the college credits that I have and transfer those, or I'm going to start working and like make enough money so I can just pay for like all my school by myself basically. And so I think, to be like 100% honest, I chose this college that I'm at now because like I already said, I started in high school, but I'm staying there really because of the job offer that I got. They reached out to me, and so them reaching out to me and offering me the job, it kind of scared me into like, okay, like I'm actually graduating high school, like, and I need to go to school, and like this whole adulting thing is happening very quickly. And so I stayed at this school at Wake Tech because I wanted to make sure that I could stay home. And I also wanted to be able to have it to like do all my classes online and to know that all my credits are transferable because I started in high school. And so even with that, my plan to stay and get my associate's degree and then transfer my associate's degree to North Carolina Central, where they have the biopharmaceutical bachelor's degree, really is mainly because I wanted to make sure that I stayed close to like my mom and like I could still stay at the house and have my own room and stuff like that. Because like growing up, it felt like because I was like so fresh out of high school, it felt like it was happening too fast. And because I wasn't going to have the traditional college experience of like leaving home and really learning how to be by myself, I didn't want to. So I stayed so that I could get adjusted in a less drastic way. And I chose biopharm because I actually started, because at my high school, there's multiple majors that you could choose from. I started in cosmetology and I was doing hair for some time and I was like, don't really like talking to people that much. Then I did nurse aid and then it was like, I don't know. And so then I chose biopharm because I found a real passion in the environment and making sure like we do what we need to do to preserve nature and to make sure that we're still respecting the fact that everything that's around us here on earth was here first. And so I really want to be able to help people without having to talk to them too much, and then also keeping that passion of the environment. So that because biopharmaceuticals is such a broad like topic, I could either go into pharmaceuticals, I go to pharmaceutical sales, I could go into being an environmentalist. It's just so many different options that I want to explore without saying like, okay, I'm going to go to school for this and I'm only going to do this for the rest of my life. So with this major, I'm able to kind of change up my career as I like move forward. You're muted.
Thank you for sharing that. So really you chose based on your passion and based on wanting to navigate yourself, in a different way toward independence. And I really like that. And thank you for sharing that. DeAnthony, what about you? Why did you choose to go to the Sunshine State? What made you choose your major?
So I applied to a large amount of schools and I was accepted to a good amount as well. But FAMU was always in my top 3 on deciding. And it really came down to the fact that it was only HBCU in my top 3. And at that time, something just told me like that was somewhere I needed to be, that kind of university. So that kind of added to the decision, but also just the fact that it was a little ways from home. I wanted to be get a little bit of distance just so I can prepare myself for after college, just preparing myself to live on my own, being away distance from my family, not having to depend on them as much as being when I was in the house. Also, the broadcast journalism program here at FAMU is very good. I found that out during the college fair at my high school. They came, and what stuck out to me was the student-led radio station, which I'm currently a part of right now. So seeing that and just seeing all the great opportunities in J School was something that intrigued me. So once I got here, I saw it all come to life. Like J School I've been able to get involved in different clubs within J School, like the radio, TV news, things like that. And also the curriculum is set up where you can gain experience in not just J School, but also fields like public relations as well as graphic design. So that ultimately is what led to my decision on coming here. When it comes to broadcast journalism, it was really just combining 2 of my passions. The focus I want to go with broadcast journalism is sports broadcasting. So combining my passion of sports as well as writing is what led me to finding more information about the field and diving deeper into becoming like a sports anchor, things like that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Deanna, can you share with us now? She might have.
Yes, I can.
Okay. First of all, tell us what you, the question was, tell us why you chose the school that you are at and what is your major and how did you come about choosing that?
Okay, my school, I go to Bowie State. I chose Bowie State because one, it's a HBCU. I always wanted to go to HBCU. And my options was for school to go to like the best program for social work, which is my major, social work. So Bowie was, I want to say, top 3 for the social work program. Also chose social work as my major because I always wanted to work around kids, being able to provide them with necessary needs and be able to like help them whatever they're going through, like if they're in need of a housing or just someone to talk to. Always wanted to be like the helping hand, or I would say, and being vulnerable to give back to the community.
Wonderful, wonderful. Have you had Dr. Green yet?
Yes.
Okay.
She was my freshman seminar teacher.
Wonderful. You're in good hands. Very good. Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
And Ryan, why did you choose Towson and why did you choose your major?
So I picked Towson. I actually got accepted to like a few HBCUs, but what really made me pick Towson was because a lot of HBCUs didn't have my major. So before I became a healthcare management major, I was actually an exercise science major. I wanted to study to become a PT, a physical therapist. So a lot of HBCUs and other schools that had my major. So once I looked into Towson, because my whole thing was I want to stay in state. So I was only just looking at Maryland colleges. I didn't want to go out of state. So once I had looked into Towson, I seen it had like a lot of different, not cooler majors, but like more, they had more options for majors as far as the other schools I applied at. So once I seen the major, which I was studying at the first time was exercise science, I was like, I'm gonna stick with Towson. And plus I was only like an hour away from home. I was just like, I think this is a good school. I toured it. Like I just got that feeling, that vibe, like I didn't get. And plus I'm used to the diversity because my high school was kind of diverse. So I didn't mind being around like all types of people. And plus I knew like a lot of friends. And I also have a cousin who go here as well, who's a sophomore. So I just kind of felt this was my school. And also, so I changed my major. I was an exercise science major, but I changed it because once I started taking my courses freshman year for that major, it was kind of challenging and I kind of had to sit myself one-on-one. I didn't have this conversation with nobody. I'm just like, Brian, you got to figure out what you want to do. Are you going to continue this path for your next 4 years or you want to change your major? Because I just knew myself that wasn't my strong suit, honestly. I just knew I want to become a physical therapist, but the courses at Towson are like a little bit more extremer because this school is known for like science. So it was kind of hard. And the professor I had, I want to say it was like the chair member for like the science director department. So it was just kind of like even harder. So I had to talk to myself. And I think I remember this night so vividly. I was in my dorm freshman year and I was just on my computer doing so many research and jotting things down and jotting like job descriptions and what fields, other fields I could go into relating with health. Cause I still know I want to be in like the health side or like science side with it, but I just couldn't really put my fingers on it. So once I had came up with healthcare management and I looked into the job descriptions and what they all apply with, I was like, I think I could do this. So what I want to do with my major is like move on forward with medical sales and deal with the billing side of hospitals and clinics. So and to make profit off it. So I was like, I think this major could suit me. And once I switched over, I just never looked back. I actually like it.
Wonderful. You know, what I like about what each of you all said is that you researched, you did your own research. You thought about what you were passionate about. You went online, you thought about, what do I want to do? Do I want to be at home? Do I want to go far away? Do I want to go to HBCU? Am I more comfortable at PWI? Who has the best academic program for me? I really appreciate that you all shared that because that's what we should be doing when we make the informed decision. We should be researching for ourselves. I'm going to end with this question for all of you all, and it's a loaded one, and I hope it doesn't hurt anybody's feelings, the adults of us on this call, but I want you all to be as honest as you can, even though Christmas is coming, and I want you all to get some good gifts, so don't be, I guess, too honest if, you know, it may hurt someone's feelings, but this is it's an intriguing question for me to know from you all as college students. If you had to give one good piece of advice, it's a two-part question. If you had to give one good piece of advice to an incoming or someone who's in high school thinking about going to college, from what you have experienced, whether you are in your first year or your junior year, whether you are a non-traditional student or a traditional student, what would that be? So that's the first piece. So I know you all are college students, so you got the first piece. What would that piece of advice be? And then to your community of supporters, whether that is your family and the people on this call, your church family, what is the one thing that you need for your community to do for you, to support you on, that would be helpful as you are going through college? And what is the one thing you don't need us to do? So, what's your best piece of advice for a first-year student? And then what is the greatest thing that your community of supporters can do for you as you're moving through college? And what is the thing that you really hope that we don't do or you don't wish for us to do as you are trying to make your way through college? And I know it's loaded, so I'll just let anybody, before I pick on somebody, begin to answer that one.
I'm just going to answer the first part really quickly. So I would say, sorry, let me turn my camera on. I would say a piece of advice for incoming students going to college is don't be like, just allow yourself to be open to try new things as well. Go what you want to do, persuade like what your heart desires or what you want to desire. I want to say, like, let others or family members or friends persuade your decision on like what school to go to or your major to major in, because at the end of the day, it's your career, it's your experience, and it's your degree on the line. So that's one thing. Also, if you need help with anything, use the resources that you have, and also do research on the school, major, and jobs as well.
Thank you, Deanna. Great advice. Thank you so much. Thank you. Who else wants to tackle that question? Ryan?
My advice for like incoming freshmen, I would personally say is do your research and trust your intuition, because doing your research on your own time, you're the only one. This is your life. You know, I feel as though parents, nobody don't really have a say so, because this is your career path. I feel as though go which one you feel is best comfort and which one you could definitely succeed in mostly. And trust your intuition, trust your gut, trust like your opinion. Like, don't make people feel so like your opinion is not valid or your decision is not good. This is all up to you. I feel as though you got to change your mindset from you being a high school student to like a college student, because college you're basically an adult, so like you got to change that perspective real quick and come into like a freshman, because this is it now. Like, this is not no I can retake classes, or this is where your money comes to play with. And I don't think nobody want to waste money, because we're talking about a couple thousands now. And I feel as though, yeah, I feel as though definitely do your research and trust your intuition. And I'm sorry, what was the other question?
What
I'm
is it
sorry.
that you need your community, your family, your extended family to do to support? What is the one thing that we could do to support your college, the rest of your college matriculation? And then what is the thing that we don't need to do that's not helpful?
I think honestly with my community and like my family, one thing I just need to support me is just giving me encouragement and just saying prayers for me and just keep giving me more blessings. Like my mom, every morning when she wake up, she say a prayer for me. We like be on the phone talking about it. My grandma, like, just keep the prayers going. That's what I want my family community to keep doing. Just keep the prayers going, because everything else I got covered. And something I don't want my community to do, to nitpick me because I went to a PWI. I don't like the stigma with that because a PWI, I don't think it got like a bad name to it, but I just think like some people just like, why you didn't go to HBCU? It's just like, I like my PWI. So I feel so that stigma of that negative, but PWI just kind of wants that to stop because some PWIs actually is good for minorities and it's a good option for a lot of minorities.
Thank you so much, Ryan, for sharing that and your
Thank
transparency
you.
and your boldness for sharing that because I have 5 children. Some of them went to PWI, some of them went to HBCUs, and you're right. You know, those of us from HBCU or family, sometimes it can get a little bit stifling with our passion that we make people the other schools not feel as good. And so thank you for saying, like, let's not do that because education is education. And wherever you get your education is important, it's validated, and it's important for you to feel good about where you are. So thank you for sharing that with us. Leandra, you want to talk about it?
Sure. First, for a piece of advice, I would say start planning early. Like your college, what you want out of college, what your plans are, because I started, like I said earlier, when I was in the 8th grade. So that really helped me to kind of set my own standards for what I need a college, like what I need college to meet, like how they can meet those standards, and then also how am I going to be able to reach my goals at these different colleges. And also having my plan start early, it helped me to be confident in my own decision making because through with my, like, I guess schooling career from high school to now, there were a lot of people who were saying like, why are you going to a community college? It's not real like school. It's not gonna be like good for you. You're gonna miss out. You need to go on campus. And they were like just kind of telling me what to do, which really goes in hand with what is not helpful. Um, because I have had my plan for so long, I feel like for other students, it's important that they do the same because then it allows you to be confident in your own decision making and trust yourself and make find mentors who you trust, whether it's like a school advisor or a relative or anybody who can really give you sound advice and not just be like, oh, you should do this or do this, don't do this. Um, something else that has, something that my family has done that is helpful is really just like reminding me that I have a plan and that I'm on the right track because I know myself and sometimes I can get in this space of like, okay, what am I doing? Like, this is not what I want anymore. I want to uproot this all completely and just start something different. And a lot of times my mom will be like reminding me like, no, remember you had this plan since you were this age and you're on the track to do this and it makes sense. And so that's helpful to have your family and your friends to remind you like, no, you're doing a good job. We're proud of you, stuff like that.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much. Very important. And going back to the stigmas, you know, first of all, most of this country will be in community college education. Community college education is a smart way to pursue education with the rise of cost of college and education today. So your plan is spot on for so many different things. And we shouldn't stigmatize how anybody is getting education, whether it's through community college or technical school, or if they decide to take a gap year or whatever. We just need to be encouraging to our students to continue the pursuit of education, knowing that it's never too late to continue goals. And to continue them in the way that's most comfortable for you. And then DeAnthony, come on and round us out. Talk to us about that last question. What advice would you give as a junior to someone who's coming into college, and what is helpful to you and your community? How can they support you, and what should we steer away from?
The major piece of advice I would give to a student coming in, I would say I feel like it's very hard to do as a freshman, but if possible, just have your priorities in line. Like if you know what you want to do on campus, whether that be positions or organizations and things like that, and then you also have that added coursework, of course, or yes, you have the classwork. So just coming in with a clear plan and a list of your priorities. So when things do get tough, you know which route to take and where you need to add more time, take away time, things like that. That's the piece of advice I would give to freshmen. The advice I would give to my support system, I would say like every now and then check-ins would be nice. Me personally, I'm not really a phone call person. And then there's also the fact that like majority of the day I'm in class or I'm at meetings or things like that. So phone calls aren't very convenient. So just a simple text every now and then, just reminding students that, you know, they're on the right track, that you see the progress they're making, that you see that just because being here in college, oftentimes you can kind of compare yourself to other students and oftentimes feel like you're falling behind. So just that uplift from your family members and people who can see your progress from the outside looking in is very beneficial and touching, honestly. And piece of advice I would tell my support system steer clear of, I would just say kind of basically what everybody's been saying, like this is the student's journey. They are the one who decided to go to the university. They're the one who decided to choose a major. Anything that kind of happens here at school falls on them, and it's like their responsibility to make that adjustment. So I would say like, if there's any kind of trials or tribulations that students may face, just being there to comfort them instead of criticize would be greatly appreciated. Just because like I've learned that in college, one small mistake isn't the end all be all. There's 4 years. The goal has always been to graduate in 4 years. So as long as you get there, the minor mistakes during your journey don't equate to the end goal. So I would say just staying positive, trying to comfort them during those times, because like it could, those tough times can definitely take a toll on someone's mental health. So just like being there for them instead of, you know, adding to that burden. Definitely advice I would give to the support system for everybody.
Thank you. I'm putting up my virtual hand clap, and I'm a clap for real, because this student panel has been amazing. I thank them for all of their feedback. I wish I would have had you all when I sent my first child to college. And if you had given me some of that advice of not to do, I might have been in better rapport with them on that first year. But I thank you for being bold and being transparent. With that, we certainly are praying for you all as you're coming down on the end of the semester. We're believing that you will be successful as school comes to the close for the semester. And we are also praying for your safety as you travel back and forth to classes on campus, on the highways, and all of that. And I appreciate you, Dr. Derek, did I give you a promotion? Did I give you a promotion? You okay, I called it. Things are not, I call things that are not as though they are. Dr. Jameson and Sister Cecilia and the entire ministry, I appreciate you for the opportunity to co-present with my co-presenters, as well as to lead this panel discussion. It has been an honor and a blessing, and I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much, Sister Carla. Great job to our student panels. I really appreciate you guys, and thank you guys for participating in this. Hopefully, our attendees gain some good information from everything and everybody who presented. And this will definitely help you guys out in your endeavors as you pursue higher education. I just you know, every time we do the student panel, you know, we're usually in awe of just, you know, the responses that we hear, you know, from the students. And you know, really, really great. So, you know, kudos to you guys. For our attendees, do any of you have any questions for our students before we adjourn? Or any questions for our panelists? Leslie, I believe you were unmuting.
Yes, no questions in the chat so far.
Okay, great. So I thank you again, Sister Carla. We did want to share a video called Aggie Pride on YouTube. If you guys don't mind, I can share it real quick. It's only about 4 minutes. Just wanted to share that. Hold on one second. Let me share my screen here. Where is it at? It's not even there. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay. Hopefully it still comes up. And no. Okay, so I think my screen is loading. You know, it's Wi-Fi is a monster, especially when everything in your house runs off of your Wi-Fi. Security cameras, TVs, phones. I don't understand why we are at home and or we have unlimited internet on our cell phones. We have to be on Wi-Fi. I don't know. I do it myself, so I really don't know why that is. So it's unresponsive. Okay, here we go.
Hope I don't mess it up. I'm pretty sure it's like this. Aggie Pride.
We are North Carolina A&T campus, my school, Aggie Pride. First time I pulled out, I was so excited, like I was literally kicking a rock. I love my fancy school, so couldn't wait, so anxious to meet everybody, professors, coaches. I'm J.R. Smith. I am a 36-year-old freshman here at North Carolina A&T, and I play golf. When I stopped hooping, I had so much time in my hands, and I didn't know what to do. As athletes focus on our sport so much that we forget that we also have a responsibility to ourselves to grow as a person as well. For me, being here at HBCU has been amazing because I've never been around so many people that look like me in a positive setting. And I see the pride in it.
So a lot of people don't know that Aggie Pride is actually an acronym. So it's achieving great goals in everything, producing renowned individuals dedicated to excellence.
So now we headed to, well, we're driving around campus, but we headed to see Dr. Dawn Murphy to really get that Aggie Pride. Murphy, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm a little late. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I hope you have a great experience.
Finals.
Oh, finish strong, my brother. Yes, love you.
Give me a better understanding of Aggie Pride. I know what it is, kind of, and I see a lot of the students have pride in being here at A&T, but what does it mean to you?
Let me ask you what it means to you.
To me, it's responsibility. It's responsibility to people who came before me, as well as laying the path for people who come after me. These are the four gentlemen that made a huge.
I definitely feel proud about that sense of history that the school has, specifically about the Greensboro Fort. They were freshman students who made such an impact. They did such commitment to making sure that we had just basic human rights.
These 4 men did not sit down at that counter. Who's to say where we would be in history right now?
I am an Aggie. born and bred. I went to undergrad and master's here. My husband works here. My children attended school here. So it's about a feeling of anything that an Aggie does, you're proud of the collective, not individual.
That Aggie pride is so real. I always call myself an Aggie. The athletic programs at ANC are just amazing. That's what attracts a lot of people to the school. You hear a lot about how great our field teams are. We have an Olympic medalist here. I think 2, maybe 3 at this point.
We got the little robots that build the food to kids going and whatnot.
On this campus, we have $90 million research innovation center, and we're running towards R1 certification in terms of research.
My daughter wanted to be an engineer. Of course, she's coming to ANC. We graduated the most African American engineers.
If you're hungry at the homecoming and you leave still hungry, that's your fault.
GHO is the greatest homecoming. That's not us being braggarts. That is a fact.
Well, what do you feel like the biggest difference between the generations since you were here and now seeing your sons graduate?
Well, I do think that our students now have understand the power of their voices.
Yes.
Than when I was in school, and they will tell you so. And I love that they have voices and they have opinions, and we are very passionate about cultivating them. I mean, it's a way to do everything. Shine your light, brother. You're gonna do well. I look forward to you, and I look forward to working with you.
I appreciate you. I really feel like you're my auntie now, so I appreciate you. I want to inspire young African Americans to come back to school, get your education, get your degree, inspire yourself to be something more.
All righty. Oh. All right, here we go.
Performance was
All righty. Thank you guys again. And just what time is this still doing this?
Derek, that was a different one. Can we highlight the other one so they can watch later?
That what was the other one was the oh, I did click the wrong link. I'm sorry. Yeah, so let me put it in the chat real quick. But,
okay.
Let me go to it.
While he's doing that one, it's a video from basically Aggie Pride also, but the young man in the video highlighted 2 students who were doing community work around the area, and also what they were actually doing on campus to help support other students. So it's a great video if you all have a chance to look at it.
Yeah, think of it as just, the ability of entrepreneurship at such a young age at whatever university you're in. So hard work, people will notice it and they'll get back to you. And I posted in the chat.
Oh, you did? Okay, great. Thank you, Joey.
You're welcome.
So again, thank you all for attending. For our future college students, hopefully you gain some information that will help you as you further your academic career, as you set yourself up and prepare yourself for a successful future as an adult. Take heed to everything that was talked about today. And just like it was mentioned, it's not on your parents, to do, to make sure that you have a successful 4 years of college or whatever, however long you go. It's on you. You have to take responsibility. You have to take ownership. You have to invest in yourself, and investing by making sure that you're going to do what you need to do to make sure that you're successful. Anybody else have anything else they want to add before we go?
As always, it's an honor and pleasure to have all the panelists here and also to have the speakers with us. It's a great time, and it's good to see the young adults growing up and growing into who their future selves are going to be, and beyond that, because even as you grow a little bit older, things are going to change and adjust. But y'all stay focused and you keep the Lord first, you'll be all right.
Indeed. Anyone else? Sister Ashley, do you have anything that you want to comment before we go?
So I would like to say, of course, thank you for the opportunity to share, but also I want you guys to remember that community is everywhere. And so people are waiting to pour into you, and then also to tap into your resources. And your resources aren't necessarily, the obvious, so tap into the resources, people who you believe could have the answer, or people who are connected to people who have the answer. So just remember to tap into your community along your journey.
Sister Carla? Anything you want to say?
I just want to tell the students who are getting ready to go to college and the ones that are in college already, this really is what I want to say, is what I've said for many, many years to every student, to my own children. No matter what is happening, no matter what it looks like, no matter what the present circumstance is, you absolutely can do this, and you will.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So again, thank you all for attending. This event has been recorded, and so it will be on the Turner YouTube page if you wish to go back and view it. If you wish to share it with somebody that you know that could benefit from it, please do so. Give us a couple of days for it to be posted. And again, you could go back and view it, and that's on Turner Memorial's YouTube page. Thank you all very much for attending, and look forward to, from our student panels, look forward to the great things that you guys will do in the future. For our high school students, definitely looking forward to what you all will do as well, because you all are our future. And so thank you again for attending, and you all have a great rest of the day and a great rest of the weekend. Bye-bye.
Y'all stay blessed.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too now.